in Australia. Hashem will avenge their death, and refuah shlema to all the wounded. And in the night of Hanukkah, when we bring light to the world, unfortunately we see people that are trying to bring darkness. But remember, you turn on the light, no matter how much dark in the world, it disappears. One little candle can change the whole world. So Parashat Miketz, we're coming to an amazing, amazing parasha. So, speaking of numerical code, the Parashat Miketz is the only parasha in the Torah that lists how many verses and how many words. No other parasha lists that. Every parasha you see at the end of the portion, if you go to your Chumash, how many words are there, verses, right? But it never says how many words. It only says how many verses. So very interesting. There is exactly, if you look at the end of Parashat Miketz, and I'll show it to you in a minute, it says something like this. And this is, by the way, the famous, dream interpretation of Yosef and whatnot. And this Parashat Miketz, it says that there is 146 verses, and there is actually 2,025 letters. Yeah. I'm sorry, words. Words. So why 225? So, we have the Hanukkah, how many candles we light?
36.
Huh?
44.
No, but I'm saying, as far as the 8 days, right? We have 8. 8, and we have on Monday we light them on the 25th, right?
Yeah.
8 times, we have 8 of them, all right? And we light them up. So if you look at the total, what's candle in Hebrew?
Yeah.
Ner. In Gematria, 250, right? 250 times 8, 2,000. And we light it on the 25th, Hanukkah, Kaf Hey, 2025. This is the parasha, how many words in it, alluding to Hanukkah. Okay? All right, so...
But one year we have 2025 too.
So we have, we have actually happened 225, Baruch Hashem. Everything has an amazing, amazing secrets in it. And Parashat Miketz, just so you know, it happened on Erev Rosh Hashanah. The day of before Rosh Hashanah, that's when Yosef was taken out of the jail, the dungeon. And we know that Vayhi Miketz Shnatayim Yamim. He said that, it was at the end of the 2 years. The Zohar says that Pharaoh had the same dream for 2 years. Every day the same dream. And he could not solve it. Every day, the 2 dreams that came to him, it was, the dreams of the cows and the dream of the sheaves. It was the same dream. But, it says the Torah that he woke up because it was a dream, but not on the other one. Because, it said the cows eating other cows, that could be normal. They have mouth, they're animals. But the sheaves eating sheaves, that's not normal. Vayar is a chalom. This is a dream. So, every time the Torah says Vayehi, we know it's not a good thing. And Vehaya, which is the letters of Hashem, is a good thing. And he said that he's standing on the water. That's where the Christian took that. Jesus is standing on water. It's from here. He said that it says standing ala yeor. Everything is from the Torah. And mina yeor sheva parot. So he says he has this dream. I won't go to all the detail, but basically he cannot resolve the dream. So they said that Pharaoh brought all his magician and Khartoumim, the wise men, everybody to solve the dream. Nobody can solve the dream. And every day he will bring somebody else. He doesn't solve the dreams, he kills them. That day, he brings the last guy. The last guy was the minister of drinks that, Joseph solved this dream. And Joseph solved this dream. He says, you will be returned to your placements, and the baker will be put to death. And in a sense, Yosef was not, the Zohar says, Yosef was not really interpreting their dreams. He was doing his own dream. He says, come back to my place. But if you remember, Yosef asked the minister of drinks, remember me.
Right.
So, the Zohar will tell us that Yosef had been in jail for 12 years, right? We have 10 years.
Yeah.
The Zohar says he took a punishment for every brother he spoke ill of 1 year. 10 years, 10 brothers, right? But you know, it's amazing. The Rabbi Chizkuni Akadosh says something amazing. He says that Yosef really did not say Lashon Hara. If you look carefully what it says in the Torah, Vayave et dibatam ra'ah. He brought what they say. He did not say bad things. He just said, Abba, you know, because you know Yosef was a child, 17 years old, right? And he sees things he doesn't understand. The Gemara will tell us that he sees that they actually had a sacrifice without seeing the shechita. So why are they eating not kosher, right? They knew the secrets of the book of creation, Sefer HaYetzirah. You heard of the book of creation? So who received it first? Adam. The angel Raziel gave it to Adam and then reached all the way to Abraham. Abraham actually translated when he was 52 years old until he was 75. When he had the dream, the prophecy, Ben Abetarim, the chopping of the sacrifice, as Hashem put him to sleep and promised him the land of Israel, that was the end of the book of Yetzirah, the book of creation. And whoever knows the book of creation can do anything they want. You can create human just by words. By the way, the book of creation, oddly enough, has 2,000 words in it. And you know who translated for us to really read it and understand it today? Rabbi Akiva. So this is the book of creation. So Yosef did not know everything. The brothers did. And he brought Vayave et dibatam ra. He brought things that he saw that he thought it was bad. He didn't ever say anything bad about his brother.
So then why was he punished?
Ah, beautiful.
Well,
They say, yeah?
You had to come
if you
down
were
to Egypt.
telling your father at 17, by the way, what's,
He
what
said-
do you think that, I mean, he knew,
Yeah, the Torah doesn't say that he spoke ill. It
Right.
doesn't say Vayave, he brought.
right, so you were.
So he let his father judge.
You're, yeah.
Yeah, no, so you know, the Gemara has a big debate about it.
Yeah, because I could-
But to your question is you're not allowed even to do that.
But they hated him. so
You're
they
not allowed to
couldn't
do that. They hated him so much that they wanted to kill him. Imagine you have a 10 brothers want to kill the youngest brother, one of the youngest, Binyamin was the youngest.
Right.
They hate him so much they want to kill him.
Yeah.
And Reuven saved him. You know, Reuven saw something that nobody saw. Yosef was so righteous, he's like his father, right? Yosef, Ele Toldot Yaakov, Yosef. I mean, you know, from all the children, the lineage of Jacob is only Yosef. Why? That brought jealousy, of course, Kinah. Jealousy in Gematria, Yosef, 156. And also Zion, the city of Zion, is 156. That's why everybody's jealous of Israel. They all want Zion, right? Everybody wants Zion. To date, you know how many wars we had in Israel about Yerushalayim? To date, from the history, from day one until today, 44 wars to try to destroy Jerusalem. The 45th one is coming. Gog Magog. Make no mistake, there's one more. That's when Hashem, Echad U'Shmo Echad. So we see that Yosef was so hated, Reuven saw something that none of the brothers saw. He saw Yosef give up on Hashem and prays to his brother. Please help me, save me, please.
Say that again? Stop.
Yeah, Reuven, the Bechor, saw Yosef left the faith in Hashem and asked for his brother to save him. Please don't kill me. So he said, you know what? Let's put him in the bore. Let's put him in the pit. Because then he'll be just with Hashem. There's no brothers. You will pray to Hashem. You know, King David wrote in the book of Psalms, Mima'amakim keraticha Hashem. I call upon you from the depth.
Psalm
The-
130.
That's exactly Psalms 130. Chazaku Baruch. What does it mean? It said Yosef was in the depth. You know, the pit was 20 amma. 20 amma is 10 meters. This is amma, 10 meters deep. They said no water, but snakes and scorpions were there. By the way, a scorpion is the only animal that commits suicide, just so you know. No animal ever killed itself except scorpions.
On purpose.
On purpose. When he has the dangerous, he killed himself.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, that's what the Gemara said. Huh?
I put the tail in the neck.
Yes, yeah.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Kamikaze.
If the jealousy, I mean, if what Joseph did was the problem, were because the other brothers weren't punished. So was the sin Yosef?
Yeah. So here's a great question. Did you hear his question?
No, repeat the question.
So he says something he says, Yosef was punished. Why the brother were not punished? Right? Technically, by the way, the problem was not Yosef. Many people blame Yosef. The problem is Jacob. Yaakov loved Yosef so much. Right? A psychologist will, you want to hear a joke?
It's always the parent.
You want to hear a joke about a...
But Joseph said he named
So, yeah, of course he nanny, but we'll get to it in a minute.
Really?
Once you heard of Sigmund Freud, right?
Yeah.
Sigmund Freud was the son of a rabbi, a Jewish man. Once he met, a very young boy, Avraham, his name. So he says to Avraham, tell me about you. He says, I learned Torah, I'm a yeshiva boy. So as Freud says to him, Avraham says to Freud, what do you do? I say, I'm a psychologist. So Freud says to the boy, can I call you Avi? He says, only if I can call you Psycho. But in a sense, the problem is not Yosef. Jacob should love his sons equally.
Yeah.
We learn from that, because sometimes you can give love to one son. Look what happened. The 10 brothers want to kill him. Reuven saw that. He said, let's put him in a pit, so he prays to Hashem. If he has, because he has a dream that Hashem gave him prophecy, Hashem will answer him. That's the essence of Reuven saving Yosef's life. And of course, we know that later on Yehuda said, let's not kill him, let's sell him. That's why Yehuda lost 2 sons. The story of Yehuda and Tamar is in the midst of Yosef's sale, because Yehuda did something that it should not be done. That's why Vayered Yehuda came down in level. But Yosef was saved, as we know, from the Ishmaelites and Midianites. It was sold for 20 shekels. Really, that's the worth of Yosef. And he was purchased by a gay guy named Potiphar. You heard of Potiphar? He was the killer's minister of Pharaoh. His wife Zulicha, gorgeous woman, chased Yosef because his husband were gay, and he was circumcised completely, right? The angel Gabriel made him saris, the Torah says. Castrated him. So Zulicha, for 1 year, Yosef is 17 years old, changes her clothes 20 times a day, is walking naked, nothing. Yosef never falls for it. By the way, that's why Yosef called Yosef HaTzadik. In the whole world, is the only tzaddik. Right? To go back to your question, so Yaakov loved Yosef so much that the brother felt like they're nothing. So it's not really Yosef's problem. He's a kid, his father loves him. Don't ever always love your kids equally. Yosef, as we know now, has been rushed. The end, as we said, the minister of drinks said, he solved my dream. Yosef was 10 years, as we said, because even though he did not speak Lashon Hara, by bringing the so-called acknowledgement that they might sin, that's considered Lashon Hara. That's why we're not allowed to judge anybody, say anything about anybody. Always, always judge favorably. Right? God taught me something a couple of years ago. He says, see a person, instantly you judge. Right? How many times you meet people you never met in your life, you already have an opinion. Like, I don't like this guy. It doesn't look right. He's not wearing the nice thing. You're obviously you have no idea who they are. Zero. That's how we should never ever be. That's why the Gemara says, Masechet Avot, judge everybody favorably. If they do something else, then you have the knowledge. You don't know now. Always judge everybody. So by bringing their so-called, what he thought was bad, it's not really bad. And Yosef was at such level like Yaakov. Yaakov was Abir Yaakov. Yaakov is very, very interesting. Abir Yaakov is Rabbi Akiva. Yaakov will come back as Rabbi Akiva in the reincarnation to reteach the oral Torah. So we see here that Yosef is sold, and 2 years he get extra in jail. Why? Because he left Hashem again and asked this Egyptian man to save him. Remember me.
Right.
So 2 years Pharaoh has the same dream. And now this Sarah Mashkim, this minister of drinks, is the last one to come, and he's about to be killed because he doesn't know how to solve the dream. So he's like, wait, Pharaoh. There's a Hebrew kid, Na'ar Ivri. Yosef was not a na'ar anymore. He's not a kid. It's been 12 years. He's 29 years old. But he tried to belittle him. He says, we had this young boy with us in jail. He solved my dream. And the minister of baking, exactly what he says happened. I'm being restored. And he was put to death. Boom. Erev Rosh Hashanah. It was one night before Rosh Hashanah. Vayaleu min abor. They bring him from the pit. Mima'amakim karaticha Hashem. Whenever you're at the lowest level, Hashem is the closest to you. Everything had to happen in a sense in order to bring Mashiach. Because Yosef will be also the Mashiach in the future. And David will be the Mashiach, two Mashiachim. Yosef is raised, and the Torah says that they clean him up, they shave him, they bring him in front of Pharaoh. And Pharaoh basically now says, listen, I had these dreams and nobody can solve it. And Yosef now is standing in front of the king of the world. Pharaoh was one of the 10 kings of the world. There was 10 kings to the world in the history. Pharaoh was one of them. You know who was the first king in the world ever?
Nimrod.
Very good. Chazaku Baruch. Nimrod was the first king of the world. Very good. Nimrod. You know who was Nimrod?
He was not a good guy.
Who was his grandfather? You know who was the grandfather of Nimrod?
Was Noah.
Very good. Chazaku Baruch.
Wow, this table is good.
Yashar Koach.
Wow, what are you guys doing?
So now,
Listening. We're admiring you guys.
now Yosef knows, because everywhere Yosef goes, everybody knows Hashem is with him. Even Potiphar says, wow, he's blessed, Hashem is with him. The minister of the warden of the jail, wow, Yosef, he became really the president, a CEO, and everywhere he went, even from the house of Potiphar, through the jail. He's in charge. Imagine I put you in Iran in jail and you become the Ayatollah, right? That's how Yosef was everywhere, because everybody knew Hashem is with him. Even the Goyim understood what Hashem is with you. We, the Jews, don't understand that.
Yeah.
We are the only people in the world that fights our own religion. No other religion in the world defy the religion. You take any Muslim in the world.
We'll take the
No, listen. Listen.
Everyone else will
There is
take it.
80,000 religion in the world.
Yeah.
We are the only one that fights it. We are the highest level of percentage compared to nations that don't believe in their God.
Yeah, that could be.
Well,
100%.
We're a little stiff-necked.
Yeah. But in a sense, now Yosef is come in front of the king, and everybody knows he's just a dream solver. Pharaoh says, I have a dream, I cannot solve it. He knows the dream, but he cannot solve it. Unlike Nebuchadnezzar could not know the dream or the solution. By the way, the words that used for Pharaoh and Nebuchadnezzar is exactly the same if you look, except one letter different. But what Yosef answered the king, whatever Hashem says, I will tell you.
Right.
That's really the greatest of Yosef. And of course, he solves his dream. And he actually not just solves his dream, he gives him solution.
Right.
Pharaoh gives Yosef a name. Twice. Two names. One of them, he called him Avrech. Avrech is the first word in the Torah. You know what Avrech means? Elohim Berech. Avrech is a Kollel student.
I was wondering. Then right after that, he gives him another name.
It's Ofnat Pa'anach. You give him another name. But originally he changes. He says, you're an Avrech. Pharaoh gives Yosef the name Avrech. You know what we do today in Israel? We fight the Avrechim. Do you understand? Even Pharaoh understood the power of God in this kid, this young man. He says, you an Avrech, huh? Avrech means Hashem, Berech, Elohim, Berech. God bless you. Yosef always used whatever God. He says, whatever God tells me, I will tell you. So he says, go ahead, tell me the dreams. And Pharaoh is tricking Yosef. He changed the dream a little bit. Because we said before, he stands on the water. Yeor means the Nile. The Yeor is Yehior, the light, right? He stands on the water. But in a dream that he's about to tell him, he says, I'm standing on the banks of the river. Yosef says, what are you talking about? You were not on the banks. You were on the water. Pharaoh says, how do you know? Were you in my dream? How do you know? He says, Hashem told me. So this moment, Pharaoh was so astonished that Yosef solved his dream and also gave him solution. By the way, everything that we deal with today came from Yosef. Everything in the world, from food distribution to storage, Walmart, Costco, to dream interpretation, psychology, hedging, gold, real estate. Yosef bought the whole world. Human resource, everybody he owned. Through the process of the 7 years of famine, the whole world has no food. Everybody had to come to Egypt. Everything that we deal with comes from Yosef. And of course, as we know, Pharaoh changed his name to Tzofnat Pa'anach. You know what Tzofnat Pa'anach mean? Is to uncover the secret. Tzafun, right? Something that's hidden. Right? Pa'anach lefa'anech. To understand things that nobody understood. And Yosef, Pharaoh says to him, you know what? You're so smart. I need somebody like you with me. Who was Pharaoh? You know who was the grandfather of Pharaoh? Noah. Ham, the son of Noah, one of the children was Egypt. Mitzrayim, Put, Cush, Ham, Canaan, he had all these kids. One of them is Egypt. So he says, wow, I see you come from the people of Shem. I can tell you're smart because Shem is the Hebrew. I'm going to make you my second. Because you just did not solve. You gave me a solution that nobody could. You saved my kingship. So that night, remember, this is Erev Rosh Hashanah. And Yosef is teaching Pharaoh something. He says to him, this is Erev Rosh Hashanah. Hashem judge all the kings in the world. Hashem judge every country. Because, Erev Rosh Hashanah, everybody get judged. Every animal, every plant, every nation, every king, every minister. So I'm going to give you a solution, because Hashem showed me that I can save Egypt. So he said, I'm going to make you my secondary. You'll be my so-called viceroy. So now immediately came the so-called politician of Egypt. So how can he make him? You know how they used to choose a pharaoh in Egypt? You heard the pyramid? In Hebrew, it's per hamidot. It's according to the levels. So there was, let's say you have 10 candidates. Today we have 120 in the Knesset, in America, how many, whatever. So they used to put them all at the first level of the pyramid, because the pyramid has 70 levels, because back then there were 70 languages. So they'll ask every candidate in a different language a question, and whoever can answer in that will go up. So the Pharaoh was chosen because he went all the way up to the last level of languages, because when the Tower of Babel happened, 70 languages came to the world, right? Today we have a software called Babel, right? To learn languages. And Pharaoh knew 70 languages. Yosef comes to him and he speaks to him in Hebrew.
He didn't know Hebrew.
It's like, what is this? So he says, listen, don't tell anybody you know one more than me. I'll make you my viceroy. So those people came to him and says, we want to test you, because he wants to make you the secondary in command. You just came out of jail. Who are you? Yosef said to the minister of drinks, tell them I'm not a thief. I'm just, I was stolen from Shechem. I was sold. I'm not really any bad. I'm not. I'm just the son of Jacob, really. Everybody knew Jacob. Jacob was the king of Israel. That night came the angel Gabriel and changed the name of Yosef. We have one place called Yehosef, right? Edut beYehosef samo. We read this in the chapter of Tehillim. The Gabriel put the letter Hey in Joseph and Yehosef. And Yosef says, Sefat lo shamati eda. Yosef says, the King David revealed to us in Tehillim, he said, Yosef, I heard the word Sfat. Remember Pharaoh says, I'm standing on the Sfat HaYeor, on the banks of the river. The angel says, Hashem says to Yosef, no, he was on the water, not. Sefat also means language. He taught him 70 languages in one night. Yosef can speak all the languages plus Hebrew. That's why he made him the king of Egypt. Because Yosef says, if you don't tell me, I will, we'll make a vow. Yosef says, okay, we'll make a vow. Pharaoh says, please, promise not to tell anybody. I'll give you everything, even my ring, The ring is really the most powerful thing in the king, is the seal, right? If you do any decree and you don't have the seal, it's just a piece of paper. A good attorney would tell you, if you don't sign it, it's just a piece of paper. Yosef becomes the viceroy on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, we can all change our faith. There is only one person in the Torah that had a birthday. It's mentioned he had a birthday. Do you know who it is?
Aaron. Wrong table.
So it's right
You
here.
guys.
It's actually,
Very hard to move up.
so it's actually Pharaoh. Just so you know, this parasha is Pharaoh's birthday. It says that they had a birthday. Huledet Paro. He was the only one that has a birthday in the Torah, right? But Aaron is the only one that's mentioned when he died. That's right. His yahrzeit. He's correct. Listen.
You're in the right league.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. So the essence now, Yosef now, in order to be a king, you know, many people even tell you, you have to be married to be a real rabbi. You heard that before? So they say you cannot be a real rabbi unless you're married. Why? Because you have to have experience of marriage, children. You have to really experience everything. We learned this actually from here. Pharaoh says you want to be a king, you have to marry. You have to have a wife. And as we know now, Yosef is taking him, give him his own carriage, right? He takes him out all over. What Yosef is doing, Yosef is actually looking where he goes and understand the land of Egypt. Because remember, he was come to Egypt, sold as a slave, in jail. Yes, he was in the house of Potiphar for 1 year, but he's been in jail for 12 years. He's about to be the king. He knows the land. You know, in order to be a good king, you have to know your kingdom. He goes around and sees where he can store the food, what city has what, you know. But in the process, all the beautiful girls threw, you know, all kinds of notes and gems and necklaces at him. I want to be your wife, be my king, please, you know. The Gemara says that every princess threw her lineage, like she had a beautiful jewel that has a note. I come from this family. I come from Fatima, I come from this, okay, you know, all this. All of a sudden, Yosef, you know, they bring him what they threw into the carriage, and he sees something in Hebrew. He sees words in Hebrew. He looks at this, and he sees a note that Jacob wrote for Osnat, because you know, Osnat, who is the daughter, who is her mother? Dinah. Dinah, as you know, was raped, right, by Shechem ben Hamor. Shechem, the son of a donkey, raped her. She was 6 years old. Shimon and Levi killed 24,000 of them. We need another Shimon and Levi now, right? For one girl that was raped, they killed 24,000 of them.
Let's see if we can convince them all to have breasts.
Yes, right?
So I lost you.
Osnat was
So
the...
Dina got pregnant?
Dinah got pregnant and had a baby named Osnat. Listen to this, amazing. The Zohar says, and actually brought in also in the Shara Gilgulim, the Arizal HaKadosh, Rabbi Marchu, you heard of Rabbi Marchu? Rabbi Chaim Vital. You heard of him?
Yeah.
He wrote all the books for the Arizal. He and his son, Rabbi Shmuel. They lived about 450 years ago in Tzfat. And the Arizal, he could see any neshama. You come to him, he'll tell you who you were from the first neshama until now and how to fix it. He could read the letters in your forehead. And the Marhu says that actually Dinah was the mother of Avraham Avinu in reincarnation. Amtalia bat Karnavo. Avraham Avinu mothers got pregnant when she was in purity, in Nida. Nida is the letter Dinah. She came back to remove the impurity. By who? By Shechem. Shechem ben Hamor raped Dinah. He took out the impurity, the klipa, and left Osnat. Osnat, the word Osnat, is what we call ones, right? Torah, in order to remove the bad part and leave only the Torah. Osnat will marry Yosef. Yaakov wrote a note. This is the daughter, this is my granddaughter. Is the daughter of Dinah. You know, Dinah did not want to leave after the rape. Shimon married her in order to take her shame away. He says, tell them it's my daughter. And as we know,
How she ended up in Potiphar's house.
So beautiful. So the Gemara says that because of the shame that she had, Dinah asked to have her removed from Israel. And remember, Yaakov was the king of Israel. He sent it to Pharaoh to watch over her. They had an agreement. He says, please watch over my granddaughter of the shame that happened. And what Pharaoh does, give her to the gay guy. Potiphar says, there'll be no problem here. The guy's gay. Yeah, it's true. That's what the Gemara says.
Thank you.
The Gemara says there'll be no pedophilia. He's gay. She's a girl. That's why something amazing. I know you all, believe me, what I'm telling you is all in the Zohar and the Gemara. Nothing is in my opinion. Okay? They said that, the house of Potiphar, Zulicha saw, the Gemara says, she saw something that, she and Yosef should sleep together. Because from her house will come the blessed children. She was right, but not with her. She was the adoptive mother of Osnat.
Yeah.
Okay? Osnat gave birth to 2 children. Is the first children in the history of the world to receive blessings. That we use their name in blessings. Yesimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim u'ke'Menashe. Until Ephraim and Menashe, there were no love between brothers like that. The first one is, we know, Adam and the snake. No good. Right? Then we have, of course, Noach and his children. Canaan. Then we have, the whole Dora Palaga. We have the generation of the Tower of Babel. Then we have Abraham. Abraham, what happened? We have, unfortunately, Ishmael and Yitzchak. Then we have Yitzchak. You have Yaakov and Esav. Then we have the brothers and Yosef. Nobody was ever blessed throughout this, until this moment. Ephraim and Menashe is the only children that we use them for blessing. They loved each other so much and respected, and there was zero jealousy between them. Even when Jacob will change his hand and give Ephraim the blessing first before Menashe, Yosef says, no, Abba, don't do what you did to me. Don't get, they're going to hate each other. Because, Yaakov loved Yosef more than his brother. And Yosef was afraid. He says, Abba, don't mix these hands. Don't put your hands, because they're going to hate him. They're going to hate each other. And Yaakov says to him, Yadati Beni, Yadati. I know, my son, I know. What's Beni? Yoshua bin Nun. Yoshua bin Nun will come from Ephraim, the savior of Israel. He has more righteous people come from Ephraim rather than Menashe. And Yosef understood that. To be Yosef, something amazing. Yosef is now the king. And of course, Yaakov is sending the children of Israel, because there's food in Egypt. Only place in the world there's food is in Egypt. No Israel, nothing. Even though Hashem promised Jacob, I will feed you, I'll take care of you. The whole ladder dream, Sulam Yaakov. Right? By the way, Yaakov, remember, he did a vow there, he gives 20%. Aser nulach, I'll give you 20%. You heard that? Remember in the dream of Yaakov, the ladder?
Yeah.
He promised Hashem 20%. Hashem doesn't need anything. But what Yaakov, the Zohar says, was promising, I'll give you 20%. It says that 20% of my children will be religious for eternity. At least. Anywhere in the world you go, there's 20% Jews that's religious. In Israel, in America. Here, there's 20% religion. In Europe, there's 20% religious. Yaakov says, Aser nulach. Yosef is so righteous, he becomes the king, and Yaakov sends the brothers. And this is back to your question. The brothers were punished. Remember Yosef, when he saw his brothers after 22 years, remember what he says to them?
You're spies.
Meraglim atem. He punished them to be the spies and also to be the 10 martyrs. Why? Why Yosef punished his brothers? It's crazy, right? Yosef HaTzadik. The Zohar says Yosef gave them every chance. The moment they came to Egypt, until Jacob died, and until he died, to say slicha, I'm sorry. Say sorry that you wanted to kill me. You throw me into the pit. You sold me. Yeah, he never wanted to punish them. He says, Ani Yosef, I'm still the Yosef you sold. Aod Avinu Chai, meaning, you know, Hashem is alive, Yaakov is alive, Yitzchak is alive at the time. And he says to him, I don't want to punish you. I just want you to do tshuva. Say, I'm sorry. You know, after Yosef buried Yaakov, we'll go one more and we'll stop, and that will be the end of the class. When Yosef goes to bury Yaakov, you know, originally Pharaoh did not want to let him go.
Right.
So he says to him, remember, I know one more language than you. I can be the Pharaoh. And I've been now a king for, you know, Yosef was 30, now, you know, Yosef is 29, and he's a king right now. He's 30 when he became a king. And he says to Pharaoh now, after 17 years, he'll be 47. Yaakov lived 17 years with him. I have to bury my father in Me'arat Machpelah. And Pharaoh did not want to let him go. He says, I'll tell everybody that I know one more than you. So, okay, go. Now, something amazing happened. Yosef and his brother buries the father. Right? Yosef takes them back to the pit. They go back. On the way to Egypt, he stopped at the pit. The hole that they threw him out into. That's what the Gemara says. And Yosef looks into the hole, and amazingly, the brothers are terrified. Like he's going to kill us now. Our father is dead. That's what they thought. And they make a lie. They said to Joseph, our father promised that you will not hurt us. Yaakov never promised that.
Right.
So this is what the Baal HaTurim says. You want to know Gematria, by the way? You go to the Baal HaTurim, Rabbi Yaakov. Baal HaTurim says something amazing. Yosef never went there to scare them. Yosef went to do a mitzvah, because you know, they say when something miracle happened to you somewhere, you have to go to that place and say a blessing on the miracle. Baruch she'asa li nes. Yosef goes there, he looks, he bless. Thank you, Hashem, for saving me, making me a miracle. The brother, on the other hand, thought he was going to kill them. That's how Yosef Tzaddik. When he said, Meraglim atem, you're spies, he says, if you don't do tshuva, you'll do also the same sin. You'll speak ill